In something of a surprising move, the Kansas City Chiefs seem to have dished out $20 million in order to sign a number 2 cornerback, and I think that is exactly what they will be getting in Christian Fulton. Pardon me. If you are interested in the Elijah Mitchell or Jalen Moore signings, there are videos on the channel for those two already. The Kansas City Chiefs are the only thing I talk about on this channel, so if you find yourself here by chance but not design, consider hitting that subscribe button. Now let's get into it. The Kansas City Chiefs signed cornerback Christian Fulton to a 2-year, $20 million deal, $15 million of which are fully guaranteed. In an article titled "Chargers Cornerback Christian Fulton Agrees to 2-Year Deal with the Chiefs" from ESPN, we get the following. Free agent cornerback Christian Fulton has agreed to terms with the Kansas City Chiefs on a 2-year, $20 million contract that includes $15 million fully guaranteed, agent Todd France told ESPN's Adam Schefter on Tuesday. Heading into the Los Angeles Chargers Week 5 bye this past season, Fulton had looked like one of the NFL's most improved players. Among cornerbacks with at least 100 coverage snaps, he had allowed the 11th lowest passer rating when targeted as the nearest defender, 69.7, according to Next Gen Stats. He secured his first interception of the season when he picked off Chiefs star Patrick Mahomes in Week 4. We will get back to that stat in a moment. It is very fortuitous. It is very good for the Kansas City Chiefs to have signed Christian Fulton because it will stop history from repeating itself. But after the Chargers' bye week, Fulton's play declined. He also missed 2 games with a hamstring injury and played sparingly in multiple games, managing it. According to Next Gen Stats, from Week 6 until the end of the regular season, Fulton allowed the 8th highest passer rating in the NFL as the nearest defender, 114.0, and tied for the 5th most touchdowns, 4. A second-round pick in 2020 out of LSU, Fulton had been plagued by injuries in his first 4 years with the Tennessee Titans, missing 23 games. But Fulton said he thought he had proven in 2024 that he could get through a season without significant injury, but not without any injury at all. Fulton, 26, again, only 26. Played 15 games in 2024, the most of his career, finishing with 1 interception and 51 tackles. For his career, he has 201 tackles and 5 interceptions in 57 games, 51 starts. Who was Christian Fulton coming out of college? Well, he was 5'11 and 5/8 inches, basically 6 feet tall, 197 pounds, and I believe he plays around 200, 201 now, 30 and 5/8 inch arms, 9 and 1/8 inch hands. Ended up running a 4.46 40-yard dash, which is kind of the standard there for a cornerback, but had a 1.48 10-yard split. That's a pretty good 10-yard split. 4.36 and 6.94 on the shuttle drills. A 35-inch vertical is an okay number. A 10-foot 3-inch broad jump is around the same okay level. According to PFF, he had a 71.1 overall grade last season, which was 40th among 223 cornerbacks. His pass rush grade was 60, 55th among 223 cornerbacks, but I don't think he does that very much. I could not find very much of it. Defensive run defense grade, this is a wild number, 79.3, which was the 22nd best cornerback out of 223, and then a coverage grade of 67.9, which was 62nd among 223 cornerbacks. Now, let's look at the snap counts, because he is a guy that has struggled with injuries in the past. He played just 6 games his rookie season, 13 games the next season, 11 games in 2022, 12 games in 2023, and 15 games last season. The entirety of his rookie contract, he did not play a full season. He did not play a full season last year. 202 snaps as a rookie, then 737, 653, 645, 760. So you're looking at a guy who's getting 650 to 750, we'll say, snaps per season. So that's a little bit confounding because he does not play all the games. So let's look for a moment. So he also, I need to break this down, 721 snaps at wide cornerback, which is where the Kansas City Chiefs need someone, 18 in the slot. They don't need him in the slot. He also played 85 snaps of those 760 in the box. So he is a tenacious cornerback. But let's look at something real quick, because he has played after his rookie season 650 to 750 snaps per season. This is Jalen Watson here. 605 as a rookie, 440 in his sophomore campaign, 341 last season. Obviously, he would have gotten a whole lot more than 341, but he missed 11 games. These numbers, the reason I bring that up is that these numbers are not small numbers. 737, 653, 645, 760 snaps. And you'll see from that percentage number there, if he's healthy, he's pretty much on the field. So he is someone that the teams employing him trust to be out there. So that is a good thing. Now, let's get into some of the advanced statistics, because we do have a troubling 103.6 rating on the season. But if we go back up here, a coverage grade of 67.9 is 62nd in the NFL. Overall grade of 71.1, which is 40th in the NFL. Both of those, I mean, there are 64 starting corners in the NFL, so both of those are well within the parameters of a starting cornerback. And then you have the 22nd overall run defense grade. So all of those parameters keep him on the field in a starting capacity. So what was it here that got him in trouble? Well, guys, it was just the touchdowns. And full transparency, I don't know where he was giving these touchdowns up. I don't know. I don't have very much visibility into that right now. But you can see from his first few seasons in the league, he did not give up that many touchdowns there. And one thing that I will say is that these must not be on crossing routes, because he has some of the fastest hands I have witnessed in crossing routes, sticking his paw in there and breaking up that pass. So I do not know the precise nature of those touchdowns, but that is what is skewing the rating when targeted. That is what is skewing up the rating when targeted. That is what is skewing down the coverage grade. And when you saw this introductory article here, where was it? His play declined after the bye week, where he went from the 8th highest passer rating in the NFL at 114. So what we're witnessing here actually with this is whatever that the nature is, so that these statistics are great, but they don't give you full transparency into who the player was. That 8th highest passer rating is an interesting statistic, but it doesn't give us everything, because the touchdown numbers are skewing that. What if he was just the closest guy on a touchdown? Well, it counts against him. That doesn't necessarily mean it was, in fact, his responsibility. But I want to bring up something else with this as well. He gave up 40 completions on 64 targets, a 62.5% completion rating. The real testament to, so if you were to be introduced to the sport of football, it would be tempting to believe that if I wanted to find the best cornerback in the league, I would look for the guy with the most interceptions. Well, the best cornerback in the league doesn't get very many opportunities to intercept passes, so that's not going to get you there. And in the same breath, the best cornerbacks in the league aren't targeted all that often, so one touchdown will throw up their rating when targeted. One touchdown will throw up all of these types of statistics, right? You're targeted 10 times during the season, but one of those you give up a touchdown pass. You gave up so say you gave up 50% completions on 10 targets the entire season, and one of those was a touchdown. You're going to have a bad rating when targeted. but you're being targeted less than once per game. So Christian Fulton targeted only 64 times during the entire season, gave up only 40 completions during the entire season. So 64 divided by 17, he was targeted less than 4 times per game, 3.76 targets per game. Let's look at Trent McDuffie. I think we would all agree that Trent McDuffie is a pretty good cornerback. Well, Trent McDuffie was targeted 90 times compared to the 64 that Christian Fulton was targeted. Gave up 54 completions compared to the 40 that Christian Fulton gave up. And because he was targeted 90 times, those 4 touchdowns that he gave up are less impactful to the rating when targeted than the 64 targets and 5 touchdowns. That 103.6 rating when targeted compared to McDuffie's 82.9 rating when targeted is thrown out of whack partially because Trent McDuffie was targeted more often. Trent McDuffie gave up 545 yards on the season. Christian Fulton gave up 459. Now, I'm not making the assertion that Christian Fulton is a better cornerback than Trent McDuffie. That's not what I'm saying at all. Trent McDuffie was taking on the number one guy for many of these offenses on many plays. Christian Fulton, I do not know how often that was happening for the Chargers. What I am saying is that you're looking at a guy who was targeted only 64 times last season. So the number of touchdowns, he gave up one more touchdown than Trent McDuffie, but his rating when targeted is 21 points higher. So there's some things to sort of keep in mind when someone talks about that aspect of who it is that Christian Fulton is. Now, I've got 14 notes on Christian Fulton and what it is that I think he brings to the Kansas City Chiefs. This is a great bargain signing. I think Christian Fulton is a legitimate number 2 cornerback, and you're getting him for $10 million per season. We have seen some astronomical numbers on the cornerback class this offseason. So you have him 2 seasons. You have him this year and next year. What will the Kansas City Chiefs be able to get accomplished with him at their second cornerback spot? And I think that's exactly what you'll be getting from Christian Fulton is a number 2 cornerback. This move could make the Kansas City Chiefs defensive backfield, the secondary, as formidable as it was when you had both Snead and McDuffie on the field. And you remember how tough it was to complete passes on those 2 guys. Christian Fulton, if he's able to stay on the field, and again, obviously, you're looking at another player that has a little bit of an injury history, and that is how the Kansas City Chiefs are getting him on a sort of prove-it deal, a 2-year deal, the same as Jalen Moore. You're getting a number 2 cornerback that is, we'll get into this later, but remember the way that Snead and McDuffie would just seemingly lather each other up on the field because they were so intense. I think that's exactly the type of dynamic that you could have between McDuffie and Fulton. Throw Jalen Watson into the mix. Jalen Watson with a few more seasons under his belt. Jalen Watson with the grit and determination that he showed last season to return from that injury. And this defense, these 3 cornerbacks could be elite. Now, I don't know 100% about the other 31 teams in the NFL to rank them, but guys, this starting 3 could be absolutely monumental for this defense. Last season, it was the cornerback 2 spot that got the Chiefs into a lot. Oh, I skipped one. This move, we're looking at an outside corner. Jalen Watson is an outside corner. So when you are in nickel formations, this would allow for Trent McDuffie to slide into the slot. Trent McDuffie is an absolutely elite slot defender. So this is going to be a move that puts your best cornerback in his most comfortable position. Then you would pair up Christian Fulton with the number one wide receiver, the X wide receiver for the opposition, and then you have Jalen Watson on your last guy. So your third wide receiver, maybe your number two wide receiver, maybe whoever it is, however the offense rolls out their wide receivers. This trio can match up against just about anybody, in my opinion. Last season, it was the number 2 cornerback spot that started getting the Kansas City Chiefs defense into trouble while Jalen Watson was out. In 2025, Jalen Watson will be the number 3 cornerback, letting Joshua Williams and Nazeeh Johnson battle it out for number 4 cornerback reps, meaning that these guys will not be on the field in the same way that they were last season. Remember, last year, there was a time where Trent McDuffie was your number 1 corner. Nazeeh Johnson was your number 2 corner. I think Nazeeh Johnson is a fine player. He's not a number 2 cornerback. So now you have, assuming that Fulton and Watson are healthy, you have 2 cornerbacks that jump the depth chart over the number 2 cornerback from last year's roster at times. Another way to say that, your number 2 cornerback for a large stretch of the season is now your number 4 corner. That is a huge upgrade for this defense heading into 2025. It makes me wonder, is it possible that Joshua Williams and or Nazeeh Johnson will be seeing a move to safety with Justin Reid leaving? I think it's a possibility. I don't know how likely it is. I think that Joshua Williams has the body for it. I think that Nazeeh Johnson adds an interesting element of speed. I don't know that either of them are natural safeties. I thought coming into the league, so Nazeeh Johnson was a safety in college. I thought coming into the league that Joshua Williams would be a likely safety convert. Never happened. So I think now you have the depth at the cornerback position that if you want to throw experiments out there, this is the time to do it. So how likely is that? I don't know. I think that the Kansas City Chiefs have enough emerging talent at the safety position that even with Justin Reid going somewhere else, and at the time of this recording, I don't think he has yet, the Kansas City Chiefs should be fine at the safety position, should be young and dynamic at the safety position. This signing keeps Rashee Rice healthy, keeps Rashee Rice on the field. Remember earlier when we talked about how Christian Fulton got an interception in week 4 against the Kansas City Chiefs? You remember week 4? That was the week that the Kansas City Chiefs lost Rashee Rice. That interception that Patrick Mahomes threw on the play where Rashee Rice was lost for the season was an interception thrown to Christian Fulton. So just a very odd turn of fate here. Take it for what it is. It doesn't necessarily mean absolutely anything, but golly, it is good to have Rashee Rice not on the field at the same time as Christian Fulton. Watching him play, notes that I was able to take on watching him as a player, he is very good at cutting on the ball. When the moment the ball is in the air, he is adjusting on it. That is an elite coverage skill. Is he an elite cornerback? I do not think so. Does he have the potential to be an elite cornerback? Can he have a L'Jarius Sneed type season, L'Jarius Sneed's 2023 season? Can he have that type of year for the Kansas City Chiefs? I think he can. I think that he's not as big as L'Jarius Sneed, and L'Jarius Sneed was, I think, probably stronger than Fulton. Fulton's every bit as feisty. L'Jarius Sneed ran a 4.30 3.740, I believe. So Fulton is about a tenth of a second slower, but I do think he has faster reaction time than L'Jarius Sneed did. He does have very good hands in coverage. He is very good at getting his hands in there where he's not going to get called for a penalty, but he's still able to break up a pass. Very, very good with his hands, very good playing the judo downfield. So this is an interesting signing for that reason. He has great closing speed. So these next three kind of ideas all go together. He has great closing speed, he's great at the line of scrimmage, and he's good versus the run. He's good versus the screen pass. He's very good at shedding blockers, or at least running around them in creative fashion. Those three things, he is a seek and destroy type cornerback. You know how every once in a while Trent McDuffie will have one of these plays at the line of scrimmage that makes you stand up? He has diagnosed something and just comes screaming onto the field. He has those plays. He makes those plays as well. That is something we did not have from any other cornerback last season. He's not, as we saw earlier, he doesn't do very much versus in pass rushing situations. He doesn't blitz a whole lot, I don't think. I think he has the tools to. He has the suddenness to. He has the moxie to get going versus the quarterback. So I think that coming into a Steve Spagnuolo defense, he's going to be a good weapon for Spagnuolo in that way. This one is a very big one that is not going to make its way into any numbers. He is going to match Trent McDuffie's intensity. When you watch him on the field, Trent McDuffie, Chris Jones, Nick Bolton, all of these guys are very intense guys. These are guys that want to punish offenses for having the temerity to believe that they can score on the Chiefs' defense. Christian Fulton's going to join that rank. And I think that is a positive for this defense in more than just a statistical category, because last season, especially when Jalen Watson went down, Jalen Watson, I think, is a good team guy. I don't know that he's the greatest intensity guy. And those intensity guys are the guys who, when a game starts to get away from you, slap everybody in the face and get them focused again. When Jalen Watson went down, even though he's not the most intense guy, at least from what it looks like watching the games, he appears to be an even-tide guy. So when Joshua Williams and Najee Johnson got on the field, it seemed like it was one of these, oh no, the train's getting away situations. Jalen Watson didn't react that way, but he was not quite as frothy as L'Jarius Sneed, and the defense suffered a little bit in its identity because of that. The number 13 point I have here, Fulton is not a superstar. He's not Trent McDuffie. But he is the kind of guy that the Kansas City Chiefs often miss out on drafting because they draft so late in every round. Now, coincidentally, Fulton was picked 61st overall. But a lot of times, these guys are picked in the 40s. They're guys who don't quite, they have decent numbers on all of the measurables. They have good film. They just slip because they don't have elite numbers, they don't have elite film, they don't have elite measurables. So those guys that have really good cases for themselves normally get picked 40, 50. The Chiefs always draft 61st, 62nd, 63rd, 64th. Coincidentally, he was drafted 61st. But you see, I think, what it is that I'm saying. Now, the last talking point for this is simply this. The list of things that the Chiefs quote-unquote have to draft is ever dwindling. Do they need a safety? Maybe. Justin Reid was a longtime starter for this franchise, but I think they have the replacements already on the roster. Do they need a defensive tackle too? Yeah, they always have, though. Chris Jones has never really had a partner in crime in the middle of that defense. Do they need an edge? Yeah, kind of. I mean, it sure would be nice to have a little bit more pass rush, but with Christian Fulton and Trent McDuffie on the field, that's going to help out the defensive line get to the passer. What about a wide receiver? Well, yeah, maybe, but you're going to have Xavier Worthy. You're going to have Rashee Rice. You're going to have Hollywood Brown. Are you going to draft a number 4 wide receiver in the first round? Unlikely. This is a very deep class along the defensive line. I think I put the wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable. There's a lot of people who don't think that this is a deep class for the wide receivers. I happen to think it is a deep class at wide receiver. It's not as top-heavy as the past, so you're not getting perhaps an elite talent that will be driven down into the bottom half of the first round or whatever. But I do think it's a deep class. There are multiple mocks, by the way, that have the Chiefs getting a chance at Malachi Starks in the first round. So if you want to pop somebody in there who has a very good opportunity to start and do kind of the same things that Justin Reid did, you can do that. But the Chiefs have all sorts of directions now that they can go in this draft. Their hand is not forced in any way. They do not have to do any one thing. The Kansas City Chiefs will be allowed to draft the best player available. I think perhaps, here's what I should say. I don't think the Chiefs pick at 31. Either they get very aggressive and they decide that there is someone there that they absolutely want, and they go and get him, or they trade back. You trade back from 31 to 38. You pick up a couple more picks. You start building a little bit of depth on this team. You have 2 second-rounders at that point. You have 2 third-rounders at that point. You have a 4th-rounder and a 7th-rounder, and then whatever other picks it is that you picked up along the way. So the Chiefs could be setting themselves up to have a draft comparable to that 2022 NFL draft, if they can just keep drafting the best players available. Now, comparable to that 2022 draft, but I don't think it will be as instant impact as that draft. So that is all I have for this video. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting a like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other Kansas City Chiefs fans. And if you find yourself here by chance but not design, the Chiefs are the only thing I talk about on this channel, dropping multiple videos every single week. We are over 2 years consecutive of daily uploads on the Kansas City Chiefs on this channel, so consider hitting the subscribe button to stick around for more. And as always, I hope to have you back for the next one.